Welcome to Spotlight Net TV with yet another exciting episode of the Global Wired Women, the show that casts a spotlight on women challenging the status quo from all over the globe. With your host, Jennifer Nash, Global Visibility Strategist, Publicist, CEO, and founder of Arc and Brook PR. Jen's passion is to transform entrepreneurial women into visible experts with authority through authentic storytelling. Jen's mission is to feature trailblazing, underrepresented, and often marginalized female entrepreneurs, providing them with a platform to be seen, heard, lovable, and unforgettable. Here's your host, Jennifer Nash.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Global Wired Women, which is a show where I present to you amazing trailblazing women from all over the globe who are challenging the status quo. And my vision is to help these amazing women to be lovable and unforgettable. And of course, how can you forget this amazing guest of mine that I have, Amandine? And I am having Amandine joining me from France today, and let me allow her to introduce herself. Amandine, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself. Who is Amandine?
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. So I'm Amandine. I'm now in France. I'm normally based in Amsterdam, where I run two businesses, Bloem Moi and the Conscious Cannabis Club. I'm a tea alchemist and a conscious cannabis coach. And what that means is that I support women entrepreneurs to prioritize their self-care. And I do that with my hemp-based tea blends, premium herbs only, and organic, pesticide-free herbs only. To me, tea is so much more than just tea. It's a form of self-care. And I really believe that self-care leads to self-love. And we need plenty of that to build a better world. And with our businesses, we're building better worlds. The Conscious Cannabis Club is a community for women entrepreneurs who love cannabis. And we run a mastermind to help these women grow profitable and impactful businesses with the help of conscious cannabis. So this is what I do. I love tea, obviously, and I'm passionate about self-care, and I'm also a huge cannabis advocate.
I love it. I love two things that you just said. First and foremost, it's conscious. Secondly, it's intentional tea. So you need to be conscious in order to be, and you need to be intentionally conscious in making the tea. But also the fact that you are a badass, fearless female entrepreneur who is challenging the status quo, doing something that's not always done in this field, especially in the hemp and cannabis industry. For you as a woman to be in this space and be doing what you're doing is quite admirable. So for those viewers that don't know you, because I know that I've had a look at your website, which is amazing, by the way, and could you introduce to our viewers what your website is? What I want you to pronounce it properly, because I know it's a combination of Dutch and French, so I don't want to butcher it, so I'll let you pronounce it properly. But also, can you introduce to our viewers what can they expect from your blend of two teas, and maybe give them an insight of what that's like?
Of course. So my brand is Bloem Moi, and that's actually, as you just mentioned, Jennifer, it's half Dutch and half French. Bloem means flower in Dutch, but of course it's also a pun with blooming in English, right? Bloom, because it's all about blooming and, you know, becoming our whole selves, accepting our whole selves, loving our whole selves, and et moi, which means and me in French. And these, I have a hemp-based tea blend that I've made. This is my latest one. It's spring. You can see all the
that's amazing
flowers.
Yes.
It's a flower blend. It smells like spring. And I mentioned that, to me, tea is much more than tea. It's actually a whole self-care ritual. And that starts with looking at it. And this is why all of my teas are in glass jars, right? Because you can see it. You know, our bodies have this wonderful way of telling us what it likes. And by looking at it, by smelling it, you will know right away if this is something for you or not. And then comes the whole ritual, heating up the water, making it for yourself. Like everything, when you make it for yourself, it tastes better. And it also awakes all the senses of tea, right? It's the warmth of the tea. It's again the smell, it's again the visual, and then the tastes and the way it makes you feel with the beautiful properties of the herbs, paired with the intention of putting yourself first,
I
which is
love
really
it.
important.
I love
And
So from what I'm hearing you saying, in order for you to enjoy your tea blends, which I really love, the fact that you call it a ritual, it's an experience, isn't it? It's like you've
exactly.
got to okay, you've already picked up the teas for us, the tea leaves for us, but the fact that you're picking it up from the shelf, you're boiling the water, you're taking those tea leaves and blending it, or what do you call it, putting it in the tea and brewing it and
Mhm.
waiting and smelling that tea aroma coming to you. I mean, I love tea of all kinds, but this is exciting me. I'm actually jealous. I just saw you smelling that jar. I'm actually jealous. I wish I was right there with you to smell it. I wish Zoom could now
Lovely.
create a smell experience, right? We need to have that. Oh my gosh, that
Yeah,
is so
absolutely.
exciting. So, do you mind sharing with our viewers what kind of flavors do you have in your tea? I know it's hemp and hemp best, and it's cannabis best, but is there different types of flavors that
Yes.
we can find?
Sure. And first thing I want to say is that all my teas are hemp based, and hemp is the version of cannabis that contains less THC than the legal limit. So that means it's legal in Europe, it's legal in the UK, it's legal in the US. So I think that's very important. And also, it won't get you high because the THC content is so little. So I think that's very important. You can have this during the day without worrying to, feel a certain way. I have four regular blends, and then I have limited edition blends, and it's all about how you want to feel. So I have one called Nuit, which means night in French, which is a sleepy blend. And it includes chamomile, valerian, lime flower, and hemp. Hemp is at the base of all my teas. Then you have a more anxiety relief, stress relief blend, which is called respire, which means breathe in French. And that's with lavender.
Breathe.
Exactly. It's the breath of fresh air you need in your day, right? So that's perfect for if you have an overwhelming day, you want to feel calm, at peace. Respire is your tea. It has lavender, but not too much that it tastes soapy. Lemon balm, verveine, and hemp. And then I have femme, which means woman in French, which is a really feminine blend. It's perfect for that time of the month, for hormonal imbalance. So whether that's PMS or menopause side effects, and it has nettle, alchemilia, which is the lady's mental, um, rosebuds, and hemp. Rosebuds, which immediately makes it feel like so lovely, nourishing, and gives you that boost of self-love. And my fourth blend, which is called Vif, which means sharp, and it's all about clarity, focus, and energy. So for those who want to cut down on caffeine, for example, that is perfect. It's caffeine free, but it will give you such a boost and a clarity in your mind and help you focus throughout the day. So I always advise for a cup in the afternoon. And it has hibiscus in it, so it gives it that lovely pink color and lovely fruity taste. Hemp, of course, and then ginkgo and ashwagandha, which are two adaptogens, meaning that they work both for your body and for your mind. So amazing herbs in those. I have my limited edition right now. It's printemps, which means spring. And this is just flowers, because to me, spring is all about blooms, flower blossoms. And it's so lovely. It supports the natural detoxification process of the body that we naturally go through in spring.
Mm.
So
Amazing. I don't know if I can remember those French sounding blends and flavors, but thank you so much for sharing. But I will pick up what I was able to pick up from what you were saying. It's so cool. You've got something to help you to aid with sleeping. You've got something to aid with feminine health. You've got something to help with relaxation, which is what I needed today. You and I know behind the scenes that I had a crisis. I had to attend to a client. We needed to abate a crisis. And so I wish I did have that tea with me right now. I would have just picked up that cup and calmed myself. I really, really like the sound of your teas, the amazing flavors. Such thought has gone into coming up with the blends that ideal and pleasant enough for every situation that a woman can experience. But am I also right to think that these teas are not just for women? They're also teas that other people, anybody and any age can have? Or is there a restriction in terms of consumption because of the hemp base? Is there a restriction in terms of what age group those teas can be served to?
No, so hemp tea is there is no official restriction. You can just have them. It's only the plant, nothing's been extracted, it's completely natural. And again, the THC content is so small that it doesn't have an effect. Now, there are recommendations you are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Right.
The official word is avoid it. There is no evidence whatsoever that hemp tea is not good, but this people are very careful with pregnancy and stuff, that that's a personal choice basically. There certain herbs you always want to be careful because of medication, right? Interaction and medication. For example, if you have type 1 diabetes, or if you are taking certain types of medication. So they always say, when it comes to teas and herbs, you will see on every package, it always says, check with your pharmacist or your doctor if there's any doubt, if you want, if you want to make sure. This is the official thing. The great thing with plants is that you can try and see how you feel. Everybody's different, and something might work for someone and not for another person. But yes, always check with your doctor or pharmacist to be sure if you're under any kind of medications or have any type of ailments.
Great. So thank you so much for that explanation about the age restrictions and also about the exemption for women that are pregnant, to actually make sure that they check the label, and also the keyword being avoid. And of course, talking about the THC amounts in terms of the tea, I did experience something, and I told you about this in the prior to us having this conversation today, that when I was in Seattle in 2019, I was leaving, I went over to babysit for my nephew, and him and his then girlfriend, it's an ex-girlfriend now, left me to babysit in their home. They went off to Zambia, to my native country, to visit. And one day I decided to make some porridge for myself. And suddenly I was feeling very nauseous, and I was like, oh, and I've known from experience that whenever I get that bout of nausea, I need to just take something sugary or just have some sort of candy, right? I don't know who taught me this. They taught me this many years ago. So I've done it over and over so many years, and it works. So what did I do? I reached out into the cupboard that was directly above the stove, the stove, and decided to grab some candy. And this is in the compartment where they kept candy for my little 6-year-old nephew, great nephew. And I was like, well, I just grabbed that piece of candy and put it in my mouth and ate it. Then 1 hour later, or probably about 30 minutes later, I felt like I was losing my vision. I was on my computer, I was doing my work, and I was losing my vision, and things were not looking good. Everything started to look blurry, and I started getting confused. I didn't realize at the time that I was getting high, because I'd never been high before in my whole life. So this was my first experience with getting high, right? And it was like literally 30 minutes before I was due to go and pick up the children from school, from my school run. And my vision started getting impaired. My mind just started feeling not normal. I started, like I said, feeling like I was hallucinating. And quickly, before things got worse, I literally had to ask for another parent, to go and pick up the kids from school, because I didn't trust my ability to do the driving at that particular time, right? So these were just little jelly beans that I had. And apparently I discovered later on, in a conversation with my nephew on a Zoom call, that what I had taken was laced with THC, and it was more than 10 milligrams of THC or something like that. But what I will say is that my experience was nasty, 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 nasty. So much so that I could not anymore touch anything with hemp or cannabis with a 10-foot pole. So can you assure me, as a woman who experienced all of those things, the hallucination and all that experience that I had, how safe is your tea that I can take it now without having to go through all of that trauma?
So I can guarantee you won't feel like that at all, because again, the legal limit in Europe is 0.2% of THC. That is literally a negligible trace. They call it trace amount. So definitely doesn't get you high. That is for sure. Now, I just want to say, experience must have been horrible, because I talked about intention earlier, right? And while I'm a fan of THC, can help with many things like CBD can, it should never be against your will, right? And you obviously had no idea you were taking THC, which, so it must have been really scary. And I feel for you. I could totally emphasize, sympathize with this experience, because it must have felt really, 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 really scary. So it's all about the intention. And while if you want to tackle something where THC can help, you have that intention, and that's great. Obviously that wasn't your case at all. And so
Yeah.
that must have been horrible. And but my teas don't have that kind of effects, like, at all.
Yeah, I like that. What you say, that you should have the intention, but also the consciousness. Because
Yes.
my nephew's ex-girlfriend, when they came back, she blamed me for having taken that and not having read the label. And my argument was that the label didn't matter, because this candy was placed in the candy cupboard where they kept my nephew's 6-year-old nephew's candy. So in my thinking, if there's candy in the cupboard, that means all candy is candy, right? Little did I expect that some candy would be laced with 10% of THC. And to your point, 0.2% is what is legal, and it's just a trace. So my understanding from what you just said, 10% is quite high, right?
Yes.
In comparison to 0.2%.
Yes, and of course, I'm talking in terms, hemp is the legal term that you refer to when the THC amount is below that limit. In the US, that limit is 0.3%, so slightly above when it's hemp. But in the US, in certain states, THC is legal, and therefore you find things with a much higher percentage and content of THC, including edibles, which is what you had, and candy. In fact, it's a big debate, because if you have a gummy bear that looks exactly like a real gummy bear, that can be dangerous, right? If a kid doesn't know the difference, if it's found somewhere. So these are things that are being discussed right now, because to make sure that while edibles can be great, to make sure that only the people who intentionally want to take them, right? And who are over the legal age limit. Yes, so that's important.
That's very good to know, because again, you know, if you're eating this unconsciously, even as an adult, you've got no intention of eating it. I think it just throws you off. And sorry to hold on to this topic, but thank you so much for alleviating my. I felt stupid at the time when it happened, and I felt I partly blamed myself for not reading the label. But to your point, the candy, the edibles were mixed with the children's, and it was a gummy bear, and I had no idea, no way of knowing the difference. And also at that time I was not even educated in any form or way about cannabis. I had
Yeah.
no idea that you know you can do this and do that. So thank you so much for clarifying that and making it so much easier for us laymen and lay users to understand the difference between the legalities and the edibles and stuff like that. And I do hope that even as our viewers are listening to this conversation and they have their teas in their homes, they can just be sure to keep it out of reach of children and unsuspecting adults like myself, for whatever reason, just to be on the safe side. So let's talk business. Let's talk Bloem Moi. Bloem Moi, how do you
Bloem
pronounce?
Moi. That's it. Bloem
Bloem
Moi.
Moi. So
Yes.
I really love that, because it reminds me on the days in the days when I ran my own French inspired business called Je t'aime. So I love anything to do with French. It's always a nice connotation. I really like that. There's a romantic side to a tea business, doing tea. And then us here in England, of course, rumor has it that we're crazy about our teas and we love these tea ceremonies and stuff like that. Tell me, if you were to tell us how your relationship with tea started, what would that be, that authentic story of how that started with you?
So I've always drank tea my whole life. I get this from my mom. She loves tea. We always had tea time in the afternoon. And growing up in the south of France with a garden, she would run off, pick up some herbs and make me a herbal tea. But it wasn't until about 3.5 years ago, when I quit my corporate job to start my own business, that I started to look at teas with intention. And when I say tea in this case, I mean herbal teas. I started to look at herbs with intention. It was more than just something nice and warm that I was having. It became a self-care experience. I went through depression at the time, and I was having quite a hard time, and I needed natural alternatives for healing. And that's when I started to explore the different herbs. And that's when I started to blend my own teas, making a blend for myself that would help with my anxiety, with my stress levels, and with my depression symptoms, basically. And that's how my relationship started. And I started to share them, the teas, with my friends, my family. Everybody loved them. And then I realized that everybody had some form of problem they would love to solve without necessarily going to pharmaceutical drugs. And that included sleep. I realized the amount of people who can't sleep or have a poor sleep quality, and that really inspired me to make more teas, because it wasn't just helping me anymore, it was helping so many more people. And you said earlier, my teas are not just for women. No, of course, anybody can drink my tea. But of course, because of my own journey as a women entrepreneur, I think I have this passion for helping other women entrepreneurs to go through these lows that we all go through in business.
Mhm. I
So
love
yeah.
that. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that story. And so I know that there is a title for someone who's an expert in teas. I know that you can be a connoisseur, but what is the official title for somebody who works in teas? What is your expert title?
Well, I call myself a tea alchemist, because
Okay.
it's really my passion to create, to blend the herbs. I have this form of, I don't know, intuition. Sometimes I can't explain it. I'm called to do something and then it turns out it works. So, and then there are other titles, but it's more herbs in general, not necessarily teas, like herbalists.
Yes.
But that is different. Yes. So I think what I do is create is alchemy. So I love that term, tea alchemist.
I love
And
it
that is what
too.
I use.
I love it. So my tea alchemist. Yay. Thanks, Amandine, for that. So if somebody's listening to our conversation and they've just chipped in and they're going, oh my gosh, I love this woman and I love what she's doing and what she's made of herself, making this hemp tea to help other women and to help other people that are struggling with sleep deprivation, they're struggling with anxiety, they're struggling with all sorts of human issues that we face in our bodies, in our health. And I would like to emulate what she's doing, because obviously my show, the premise of my show as the Global Wired Women, is I speak to women like you who are, like I said, are trailblazing in your industry. You are experts in your industry. The idea is for us to share that your wisdom on this platform with our audience that are listening, even if it just means giving them 2 tips, attributes and traits that helped you to get from your corporate job mindset to starting this business. What would those 2 attributes that you have that will be helpful to anyone that's listening to our conversation today?
I will say the first one is listen to your body. It sounds obvious, but I think especially as busy entrepreneurs, we're like always running to the next thing and we don't actually take the time to stop. And that's why a cup of tea is perfect for this, right? Because you have to wait 10 to 20 minutes for it to cool down. Stop for a second and really feel into your body. Often we have to make countless decisions every day. And instead of tuning into our body, we go outwards. We go and ask everyone, oh, I need a coach, I need this. And all this is great support. But often we just have this answer within us. And so listen to your body, take a step back, tune in, take a breath, and ask yourself what the answer is. That's my number 1 tip. My second tip, I will say, if you know you need self-care and you don't know what to do about it, I have a quiz. It's free. It's fantastic to tell you exactly the kind of self-care you need right now. And it will also recommend the exact tea blend you need and the type of products that can support you at this time. So I'd go and check it out, because sometimes it's hard. We know we need something, but we don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So head over to the quiz. It's just quiz.bloemmoi.com. You will answer a few questions and the results will tell you exactly what you need to focus on. Lots of self-care tips, things that don't cost any money, right? But that can really make a difference in your life when you implement them.
Brilliant. I love it. I'm going to do that as well, because I don't believe that I saw that quiz when I was on the website. And we will share details of your website underneath this recording. So thank you so much for that. And I really like the idea of looking inside your body instead of always seeking out help from outside. Sometimes our bodies are our own counsel. They are telling us they've got signs, they are aching in certain places, or your eyes are feeling tired, you're feeling sleepy and stuff like that. You just need to listen to your body and let it speak to you, and then apply some sort of help or whatever that you need to get after you've intuitively listened to your body. I like that.
Yes.
I like that very much, because I really do practice that a lot with myself. But I think that as I get older, I'm actually missing some of the signals, just because, you know, like I am no longer in the same body that I was in 10 years ago, right? So I need to start reassessing and paying attention, new attention to different signals that are happening within my body. And that's why I'm super excited to go and be able to do that quiz on your website, because I think that will help me to rediscover myself and figure out what is going on. Having said that, also, how can people find your teas? I know you've got a website, but do you deliver globally? Can somebody who is, let's say, in the US and wherever they are are be able to purchase your tea? Because it will be really, really unfair that these teas are only available to people in the Netherlands and in France. Is that right? Can they order it anywhere else in the world?
Yes, you can order it online wherever you are. I also have some partners in Amsterdam where you can actually buy it in the shop where when they reopen anyway.
Yeah.
But otherwise we ship internationally. So the best is to head to the website. We're also seeking new wholesale partners, and I'm in talks with a few people around the globe, including in the US.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients, in fact, are in the US and the UK. And I would love to make it more
Accessible and available.
accessible, thank you, and available, exactly, to have it in shops over there, right? For now, it can be ordered online, of course. Absolutely.
Anyone who wants this tea can talk to me, because I am going to be I'm going to be partnering with Amandine soon, because I love this tea so much and I believe in it. So I will be the first one in line. So,
Awesome.
Amandine, the other thing that I wanted to figure out and ask you is that it's personal. It's your accent. You're French. There's something to do with the Netherlands, and yet you sound so English. Tell me, what is going on in there with your identity?
I love that you asked this. So when 19 years old, I moved to the UK to study. I went to University of Birmingham. In fact, when I first moved there, I didn't speak very good English, and after a year, people told me I had this weird French Brummie accent. But I think now my accent comes a bit from everywhere. I did live in London as well, in Southwest London, where I have a good ear. I used to be a musician, and so I just pick up all these accents, and that's why I sound a bit British.
I love it.
Yes, so that's the reason.
You and me both. So we've got what they call transatlantic accents. So I lived in the US for a good number of years. I've been in England for 11 years, and I'm a native Zambian. So I come from Africa. Though I've spent all of my adult life between the US and UK, still my accent starts getting lost in translation between my native tongue, my American English, and then now my British English that I pick up, especially from my husband. So thank you for sharing that little piece of nugget with our viewers. So before I let you go, if someone was trying to get hold of you and just ask questions and join your masterclass and just hook up with you really to learn a little bit more direct one-on-one about the teas, amazing teas that you are doing, how would they be able to connect with you or reach you?
They can connect with me on Instagram at Bloem Moi, and I do updates there. I do lives every 2 weeks, sometimes with guests, sometimes not, often talking about self-care, sometimes about cannabis. So yes, I love to connect with new people on Instagram, so feel free to follow me, DM me there, and all the details for the tea workshop will be coming up soon over there as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a joy having you on the show today. Unfortunately, I have to go. I've just realized that I need to be on Clubhouse and I'm running late. Thank you so much. It's been such a joy having you on the show today, and I look forward to having you again in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.
Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye.